Hello, everyone, and good evening, and welcome to our webinar explaining Napa County's new affordable ADU loan program. I can see folks are entering the webinar as we speak, and I am just so excited and happy to have all of you joining us this evening. Some quick logistics before we jump in. There are two ways that you can engage in this webinar. Number one, there is an audience Q&A. I see we've already gotten some questions into the chat. And we will be turning to live audience Q&A near the end of our presentations this evening. And also, we're going to be doing one interactive poll to gather some information from all of you. So we encourage you to start typing questions into the Q&A at any time. And we are really looking forward to hearing your questions. All right, so moving on. Really quickly, I just want to say, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Renee Schomp. I am the current director of the Napa Sonoma ADU Center. And it is very bittersweet for me to share the news that this will be my final webinar. It has been so wonderful for those of you who have joined our webinars in the past to get to be on this journey with all of you. But any sadness that I have is completely eradicated by the fantastic news that our new incoming director is none other than Scott Johnson, who has brought up his video. Hello, Scott. It is so wonderful. Really quickly, for those of you who don't know Scott, I just want you to know that he is, I'm just going to say this, a preeminent expert on accessory dwelling units in the state of California, if not the country. I'm just going to say that. It is definitely a fact. Scott has been with us since the very beginning as a key thought partner as we launched our nonprofit in the spring of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. He has been our ADU expert. He has helped hundreds of homeowners through our nonprofit, and he is very well positioned to take over the leadership of this initiative. So Scott, anything you want to just say hello, and then we'll be getting to chat more later.
And just, you know, for those of you who followed us along on this multi-year journey we've been on, Renee has created a fantastic organization that I've been honored to be a part of, and it is with great sadness to see her go on to bigger and better things. She has really left me in a perfect position with a wonderful organization to be able to continue to run. So I thank you for the opportunity. It's been an incredible experience working with you and being thought partners with you. You have helped me a lot in all of this. So thank you, Renee. And I look forward to continuing the standard of excellence that you've set for us.
Okay, as usual, you're far too kind. And for those of you who this is your first webinar with us, you're probably wondering what on earth is happening. We have the pleasure of getting to work with homeowners for many months over the course of thinking about whether building an ADU is the right decision for you. And one of the things that really matters to us is truly being trustworthy individuals and a trustworthy nonprofit organization that you can come to with all of your hopes, dreams, anxieties, fears about making what is truly a huge financial investment. And so having that sense of camaraderie and warmth is really important to us. And we strive to create those relationships with all of you as well through our one-on-one consultations that we provide, which I'll share more about, and all of our webinars that we do. And with that, I also just want to say that I am so excited about the content of this evening's webinar, because it really gets at one of the biggest concerns and anxieties that we hear from local homeowners, which is, oh my goodness, building in 2023 is not cheap. So how on earth can I do this? You know, I'm thinking about inflation. I'm thinking about my grocery bills. I'm thinking about my property taxes. And we are here with our consultations and our resources to help you think that through. And Napa County now is here to actually provide some true concrete financial support to make it possible for you. So we're going to get into that. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our nonprofit, and then I'm going to hand it over to some wonderful staff from Napa County to speak about this very exciting new affordable ADU loan program. All right, let's dive into our content, and I can see the questions starting to come in. I want to share with all of you that our nonprofit has a whole library of webinars, which we're going to share with you in the chat. Our wonderful colleague Amity is our tech expert in the background, handling all of the Zoom logistics and sharing all kinds of info that you can copy and paste out of the Zoom chat for you yourself to refer to in the future. All right. So for those of you who don't know about our nonprofit, the Napa Sonoma ADU Center is an initiative of a fiscally sponsored project of Napa Valley Community Foundation with support from Community Foundation County. And we also have some support from some of our local jurisdictions, including Napa County, the city of Napa, the city of Calistoga, and others. And our goal really is very straightforward. We're here to help local homeowners across all of the 14 cities and 2 counties here in the Napa Sonoma region get kickstarted on your accessory dwelling unit project. So with that, I believe we have a poll for all of you. So if Amity, you want to pull that up, thank you so much. We'd really love to hear from you early on in our webinar, just get a sense of what kind of build you're considering now. And you may have no idea right now, or you may have some semblance of an idea that might change even just based on seeing these questions. But we're curious, are you currently thinking of a traditional construction on site, some type of prefab? You may not know the type, or maybe you do. We're so curious to hear from you. It really helps get a sense of keeping our finger on the pulse of what our local homeowners here are thinking in terms of how they're going to build. So we'll give folks a couple seconds here to complete that poll. You can just pick one for now. And then if you haven't done a consult with us, you can come chat with us one-on-one about why you answered that way and what our thoughts are and how we might be able to help you think through your decision. Okay, so we're seeing about 55% of folks want to do a traditional stick build. I have to say, when we launched the Napa Sonoma ADU Center in the spring of 2020, we had a much higher percentage of people that were planning on building traditional stick built. We see 28% here want to do prefab, don't know the exact type. Later on tonight, Amity's going to drop a link to a recorded webinar on our website that you can watch anytime that is a deep dive into the different types of prefab ADUs and what might be right for you. Whatever you want to do, whether it's traditional stick build or some type of prefab, we're here to help you think through what makes the most sense in terms of your budget, your goals, and your project and your particular parcel. So thanks so much for sharing all of that. Let's continue on in our content here. And I want to make sure that you all have a good sense of the resources and online tools that our organization has available to you. So here's a list of some of those resources. And I'm very excited to share. If you go to our website today, napasonomaadu.org, you will see all of these resources there. Check out the ADU tools and resources in the upper right-hand corner. And if you want to connect with us directly, click the big red button that says get started, and you can either email us your questions or connect to do an ADU feasibility consult with us, which I'll share about more in a second. And we are going to be overhauling our website very soon. So in the coming months, you're going to see an even more streamlined website with all of those tools and resources. Let's turn now to another really helpful resource that is our new ADU online gallery. Not so new, but it's been in beta and we're really excited about it. And I'm going to take over the screen here now and actually share my screen and briefly walk you all through on our actual online gallery what this looks like. So this is our online ADU gallery or standard plans program. This is an attempt to just make it as smooth and streamlined for you to connect directly with a diverse range of architects, designers, and prefab companies to get off the shelf and even some pre-reviewed ADU plans that run the gamut in terms of size, aesthetic, and all kinds of other features. There are over 50 different ADU plans in this gallery. They run in size from as small as this 150 square foot unit, which if you join us for our in-person events in Napa that we held all through the month of November, you actually got to tour this in person, to 1,200 square foot and even 2-story ADUs. So if you want to filter this very extensive gallery by the construction build type, by the size, even by all these types of features like solar ready, net zero, accessible, etc., fire resistive, you can do that right here. And some of these plans are even labeled pre-reviewed. And that means that they're going to arrive at the permit counter at your jurisdiction about 80% of the way through the approval process. And I get into that in some of our other past webinars, and he's going to drop some links. But I want to make sure you know about this, because later on, Napa County is going to share with you a little bit about how using a pre-reviewed plan from this gallery can actually get you an additional bonus of financial incentives from the county. So it's really helpful for you to know about. With that, Amity, I'm going to hand it back to you to bring back up our slides and continue on. And then, just in case you all are wondering, I'm going to stop talking in a minute and we're going to get to what the county has to share, which is what you're all here for, I know. Before I do that, another thing that's really helpful for you all to just be aware of, and that is what I've mentioned previously. Scott, our ADU expert and incoming director, does these one-on-one ADU feasibility consultations. You complete a short questionnaire on our website. And after that, we do pre-screening research on your parcel. And then Scott has a one-on-one meeting with you over video to talk through what are your goals for your ADU, talk about your property, talk about the local ADU ordinances in your jurisdiction, whether you're in an unincorporated county or the city, and talk to you about, okay, given your budget, given your property, different characteristics of your property, your goals for building the ADU, and other relevant context for your particular project, here's our recommendations, and here's what you want to do next, detailed list of your next steps. And the county is going to mention to you here in a minute another incentive where the county is providing support to help you get through these feasibility consults with us. So we're very excited about that. I've mentioned several times already our extensive ADU webinar library. If you are here this evening and this is one of your first webinars with us, I want you to know that this evening, as the title of the webinar suggests, we're really focusing in on this new affordable ADU loan program, which we're going to get to in just a second with Napa County. We are going to prioritize questions from the audience specifically about that program. In the meantime, if you are chatting questions that are more technical questions about accessory dwelling units in particular, Scott might be able to get to some of those questions in writing. If we aren't able to get to those questions, however, very extensive library. Amity's just dropped in the chat this link to it. Check out information, detailed stuff with our local planning and building staff members across the 16 jurisdictions on permit applications for ADUs, local rules for ADUs. We just last month did a really excellent webinar on bringing on some finance experts and talking about what is the real return on investment, and give us the truth in the current economy about, how does this pencil out financially? So check those out, please, if you don't get an answer to this question. Otherwise, come join us again through that red Get Started button on our website and ask us directly, or do a feasibility consult with us. All right, with that, I want to just make sure that you all are aware of one other product, that is Redwood Credit Union's accessory dwelling unit construction loan product. Here are some brief details. We have extensive webinars with Redwood Credit Union in our webinar library that you can watch. If you go to the vendor registry, our extensive registry of finance professionals, You can reach out to the contact on that registry at Redwood Credit Union, Sean Charter, one-on-one chat with him about this product. But I wanted to make sure you know about it because it also is relevant to the Napa County Affordable ADU program. So with that, I truly am almost done talking at you. I want to just, for those of you who are new to the ADU process, make sure that you have a sense of where you are. So in this kind of getting started place, which is where our nonprofit really focuses in supporting homeowners, you can join us for webinars like this, where you start to think about resources that are available to you, and then dive into that budget and finance piece. So doing the consult with us first is really going to set you up for success with that. And watching this webinar, if you're in Napa County, you have a real sense of some incredible opportunities for financial support for you. All right. With that, I am very, very happy to introduce two staff members who can bring up their videos from Napa County. We have Jennifer Palmer, the Director of Housing and Homeless Services at Napa County, and Erika Hurtado-Ponce, Staff Services Analyst, who's going to be one of the key folks who will be answering your questions if you reach out to the county about this program. So without further ado, I just want to say, and I don't want to embarrass you, Jennifer and Erika, but the Napa Sonoma ADU Center has the pleasure of knowing a lot about what's happening throughout the state of California and our region when it comes to our local counties and cities truly providing concrete support to local homeowners to build ADUs as one piece of the puzzle to resolving our very real housing crisis here. I have been beyond impressed by the leadership of Jennifer and Erika and of Napa County in developing this incredible program. And I am just so grateful to you and really hope that other cities and counties throughout the state can learn from the wonderful thinking and work that you've done. So with that, I'm finally going to shut up. I'm going to hand it over to you, Jennifer, to share a little bit about this program.
Thanks, Renee. And we are excited to be here and really extremely excited and grateful for the long history of partnership with the Napa Sonoma ADU Center in not only sort of bringing this program to life, but supporting our homeowners throughout the last several years with the enabling environment that makes ADUs more possible in Napa. As Renee said, my name is Jennifer Palmer. I work for Napa County in our Housing and Homeless Services Department. And I'm going to provide an overview of our affordable accessory dwelling unit forgivable loan program. This program was approved by our Board of Supervisors in late November. Since then, our team has been working to finalize program documents and the application portal, and we are on schedule to launch in early February. So our intent tonight is to answer some questions in advance of the full launch so that folks are ready to apply when it is fully live. So to start, the presentation today is meant to cover the major elements of the program, including what is it, who is eligible, both homeowners and tenants, how is the money available, what is the process for applying, what the money can be used for, and what are the terms of the loan and how does the forgiveness piece work. The way I've laid this out is I hope to provide a sort of broad strokes overview of the whole program, those major questions, and then I have a few hypothetical example slides at the end to kind of demonstrate how various program elements work and work together, and then I'll answer questions. There is a tendency to both sort of over-explain and not explain too much, so I'm hoping I've split the middle on that, but we do welcome all questions at this point because this is a brand new program. It is something that the county is putting together. It is a very unique program the board has allowed us to put together, and we do not for a minute think we've thought of everything. So we welcome the questions, and if we don't have an answer tonight between Erika and myself, we will take down the question and the information and we will get back to you. So to start, what is it? In the simplest terms, it is a forgivable loan to build a new ADU that is kept affordable for 5 years. It's upfront money to help lower the cost of financing the construction of an ADU in exchange for a short-term 5-year affordability covenant. The loan itself is scaled depending on the size of the unit you're building, and the funding is meant to cover the gap between market rent and affordable rent for the period of 5 years of the affordability covenant. It's basically fronting the difference for the homeowner to use that capital now for construction of the unit. The program also includes some incentives, as Renee touched on, for obtaining or using certain additional services that are either required by the program or available to help homeowners either streamline the process or finance the building process. And I'll say more about those incentives in a minute and also show some examples of how homeowners might put together a loan package. So now let's look at who is eligible. This question has two answers. There is a homeowner eligibility and there is a tenant eligibility. To start, for homeowners, the answer is any homeowner in Napa County who is living full-time in their single-family residence, who builds a new ADU and commits to renting it at an affordable rate for a period of 5 years. When we say full-time, it does need to be the primary residence, and the homeowners cannot sublease the property for even short-term rentals at all. So primary residence and no other financial use of the property. It can be any home, single-family residence within the county of Napa. So that means if you live in the city of Napa, if you live in American Canyon, if you live in Calistoga, if you live in St. Helena, Yountville, Angwin, you are eligible for the program. This is not restricted to just the unincorporated portions of the county. This is anywhere, any homeowner in Napa County. Next, for the tenants, when we talk about the unit being rented at an affordable rate, what we are talking about is affordable to tenants earning up to 80% of area median income. Area median income is something that is set by the State Department of Housing and Community Development, which is also known as HCD. Those rates are published by HCD every April. The county is using those affordability standards and the maximum allowable rent set by HCD. So it's up to 80% of area median income. And I've got the chart on the screen here showing what various households maximum income could be. So for a single individual in a studio unit, the maximum income is going to be $70,000. For a household size of 2, that's earning up to $80,000. For a household size of 4, that's up to $100,000. Tenants can be family members so long as they meet the income requirement. We will have a income certification step as part of the program. So at the time of lease up, there will be an exchange between the county and the homeowner to verify the tenant income. That'll be a fairly simplified process. It's a couple pay stubs. That there will not be an overly arduous qualification process, but we will require that the county certify that the tenant is income qualified. Tenants who stay year over year, so once a homeowner leases up and a tenant is certified, there is not an annual recertification process for an existing tenant. So lease up, the income certification is only necessary at lease up. So if you have a single tenant who stays for all 5 years, you'll have 1 point of lease up and the tenant remains there. There's no additional certification. If a tenant leaves and a new tenant is coming in, there is then a second income certification. As part of some of the technical assistance that we are looking to develop as a part of this program, a next step in our program development is to help homeowners with accessing income qualified tenants. So we are working on a program that will essentially have a pool of pre-certified income qualified tenants that a homeowner could seek applications for their unit. That is not available yet. Our priority was to get the program launched. So we focused on the application portal the loan documents, the affordability covenant, and getting this up and running. But we know that this is a necessary piece to provide support to homeowners. So that piece is coming, and we hope to have that ready in the next couple months. Next, I would just want to talk about how much money is available to homeowners, and then how do you get it? So in the simplest terms, the loan amounts will range from, at the lowest end, $25,000 for a studio unit, at the highest end, $105,000 for a 2-bedroom, with all incentives being able to be utilized. The range in between is driven by base loans and incentive amounts. So as I mentioned earlier, base loans are the amount that is set by the difference between market rate and affordable rate rent over the period of the 5-year affordability covenant. Those base loans are $25,000 for a studio, $60,000 for a 1-bedroom unit, and $85,000 for a 2-bedroom unit. And the range is just set by the different rates that each of those units will rent at market rate. Then there are incentive amounts to cover the cost of either certain services or to reimburse the cost of required services. Sorry, to reimburse the cost of certain services or to incentivize homeowners to take advantage of certain services that either streamline the building or the financing process for the unit. So those incentives include the use of pre-reviewed plans from the Napa Sonoma ADU Plans Gallery. So we will reimburse the cost of those plans using the incentive program. We also require that every homeowner participating in the program establish managed construction escrow services that has a cost associated with. We will reimburse those costs up to $2,500. We will also cover the cost of conventional loan closing costs and service fees. So like the Redwood Credit Union conventional loan that Renee mentioned earlier, we will help with the closing costs and fees related to that loan. For homeowners who have been able to take advantage of the Cal HFA, this is a state grant program, we will also provide an incentive for having been able to take advantage of that program. I want to take a minute to say we understand that that program is currently on pause, and the state is considering another round of financing. So homeowners who have already been able to take advantage of that grant program are eligible for the incentive. And if and when the state reopens that program for another round of grant financing, we would again open up the incentive for the Cal HFA grant. And finally, the cost of permit fees for the unincorporated Napa County residents. Those incentives combined, homeowners can select the ones that work for them, that they would like to take advantage of, and the maximum combined amount of those incentives is an additional $20,000 on top of the base loan amount. The incentive for permit fees, this is the one of the incentives that those fees, we are only homeowners in the unincorporated Napa County area are able to take advantage of the incentive for permit fees. And that's simply because we don't control the permit fees in any of our jurisdictions. However, our base loan amount is eligible to cover other jurisdictions' fees. And we are actively engaging with each of our jurisdiction partners and hope in fairly short order we might be able to encourage our jurisdiction partners to offer match funding so that each of the jurisdictions are matching the permit fees for homeowners in those individual jurisdictions. So next we can talk about the application process. We have designed the application process to be a 3-step process, which requires some information at each step and has some required actions by the homeowner at each step. The process is designed to move at the pace of the project so that the loan is funded when it's ready to build and that the county has been able to provide homeowners with certain technical assistance along the way. Step 1 is basic registration via the county's application portal. This registration step will include providing some information such as property address, confirmation of property eligibility, and a little bit about the project itself. At that point, homeowners who registered will be referred to Napa Sonoma ADU for a feasibility consult. This is a mandatory step in our program, but the county will fully cover the cost of that feasibility consult. So we will provide a referral, and that will allow you to access a feasibility consult at no cost to the homeowner. This is a critical step that comes as a result of registration in the project. So I'm going to belabor this for just 1 second, that if you have not yet had a feasibility consult and you want one, don't immediately go register at Napa Sonoma ADU. I'm going to direct you to our portal, and we will have a link to that at the end of the webinar. Come through our portal, register for the program, at which point we will provide you a referral for the feasibility consult, and that's how the fee for the consult will be waived. Step 2 follows the completion of the feasibility consult, at which point you'll provide a little bit more information about your project based on the results of that consult, at which point the county will provide a letter that is basically a reservation of funds. So this is a letter that confirms we understand the scope of the project. You've identified not only which size and which base loan you're looking for, but also which incentives you're interested in taking advantage of. And we will then send a letter that says we're holding this amount of money for you for your project. We will hold those funds for a period of 90 days while you secure your project financing and manage construction escrow services. There will be an option for one 30-day extension if necessary beyond the 90 days. But we know we have a lot of interest in this project, or in this program. And so we want to make clear that that reservation of funds does have a 90-day window with one 30-day extension. At that point, we will also refer homeowners who receive a reservation of funds for some additional video-based classes that will be provided that cover information about construction, financing, as well as, very importantly, landlord-tenant dynamics. So every homeowner who is taking advantage of our program will need to complete those 3 video classes, which again, we will refer for, and then they are mandatory before the loan is actually funded. Step 3 is the actual funding of the loan, which will occur once the homeowner has their permits and construction contracts. And that's when we would sign loan documents as well as the affordability covenant, and then we will fund the loan into the managed construction escrow account. So now let's talk about what the money can be used for. The loan funds can be used for construction material and labor. They can cover contractor fees and overhead not to exceed 10% of the project cost. They can cover demolition and or site improvement work necessary to build the ADU. And they can obviously cover the incentive approved costs, as well as permit fees not covered by our incentive. So again, if you've got permit fees from City of Napa or American Canyon, the loan funds can be used to cover those permit fees. So to cover there, you can remove a tree that is in the way of building the unit where it needs to go. You cannot use the funds to re-landscape your front yard or to re-roof the main house. It does need to be on expenses related to the project, and specifically site improvement needs to be directly related to the building of the ADU. Now for the loan terms, the term of the loan is considered to be the period of construction, which we do anticipate to be about 18 months, as well as the 5-year affordability covenant. The affordability period starts the month following the certificate of occupancy. The loan includes a 3% simple interest that is deferred and is included in the loan forgiveness. For each 12 months of compliance, the county will forgive 20% of the loan plus interest. And homeowners can opt out at any time without penalty by simply paying back the remaining balance of the loan and the interest due. There are a few conditions that would also terminate the loan outside of a homeowner choosing to, The first is the sale or change of the property ownership or title, or failure of the homeowner to occupy the home as their primary residence, including any rentals, including short-term rentals. So to illustrate what loan forgiveness looks like, I want to just pause on two scenarios. The first is a scenario where a single tenant moves in immediately following the period of 18 months of construction and stayed all 5 years. That tenant was certified at lease up, and our annual monitoring confirmed that the lease was renewed with the original tenant each year. At the end of each year, 20% of the loan plus the interest is forgiven. And at the end of 5 years, the terms of the covenant are met, the loan balance is zero, and the covenant is terminated. Scenario number 2 shows over the course of the 5-year affordability covenant, 3 short periods where the unit was unoccupied, perhaps because one tenant had departed and the homeowner had not yet selected another tenant. At the end of each year, the amount forgiven is prorated by the number of months that the unit was rented, resulting in a small loan balance at the end of the 5 years. At this point, the homeowner has the option to either extend the covenant for 1 additional year or pay back the remaining loan balance, which in this case would be right around $5,600. Again, no penalty in either case, no penalty for opt-out and no penalty for not having completed all 60 months within the 5 years. It's just that the forgiveness will not be extended for months where it wasn't rented out. So next, this is just a quick example showing what an opt-out might look like for a homeowner after 38 months. So in this case, perhaps the homeowner is either deciding to sell their home, or they've decided at this point they would like to move into the ADU themselves and lease out their main home. Just as with the earlier scenario on the last slide, the homeowner only owes the remaining balance of the loan and the related interest, which in this case is $31,573. No penalties. Now I just want to talk through or show 2 different ways of visualizing basically the same 3 examples. These are examples of homeowners, units, and the various returns on investment. I want to caveat that every unit is going to be different, and individual projects are determined by the site, the type of unit, the finished materials. So these are for examples only, but just to highlight the different reasons that homeowners might build and what their consideration of returns might be. So the first example is for a studio unit. There's a parent who wants to build a studio for her adult son who qualifies at $65,000 a year. She builds a 450 square foot modular unit in the city of Napa. Her total project cost is $162,000. And she is using both the state Cal HFA grant as well as our affordable ADU loan and incentives. Her monthly cash flow after all of her expenses is $618 a month. In the second investment, you've got a couple retired who want to build a 1-bedroom unit above their garage as some extra and retirement income. Their total project cost is $265,000. They're also using a combination of funding sources, and their cash flow after all expenses is $669,000. Sorry. Yeah, $669,000. Final example is a young family wants to build a 2-bedroom prefab in their backyard to help pay down their mortgage. Their project cost is $307,000, and they are also using a combination of the county loan, funds, and incentives, as well as some cash, and their cash flow after their expenses is $765 per month. If we go to the next slide, this is just another way of visualizing those 3 exact same scenarios, looking at it, just literally kind of looking at it in an Excel spreadsheet. So again, the first example, total project cost is $162,000. This is a homeowner who's using the studio base loan as well as $10,000 in additional incentives for a total loan from the county of $35,000. She's also able to take advantage of the Cal HFA grant. Her cash flow at $618 per month results in an annual cash flow of $7,413. For the one bedroom, their project cost is $265,000, and they're using a combination of things, including a little bit of savings. Their monthly cash flow at $669 per month is annually $8,000 in additional cash flow. And finally, the 2-bedroom unit, they're doing a prefab again in their backyard to help pay down their mortgage. Their project cost is $307,000. They're not using the Cal HFA program, but they are taking advantage of all of our incentives and are using some of their savings. Their monthly cash flow at $765 a month is annually just a little bit more than $9,000 a year. And finally, before we turn it over for questions, I just want to share a few questions and answers that we've already received through email inquiry regarding project eligibility. We've had a lot of questions about projects underway. Homeowners who are either already through the feasibility consult or perhaps even into the permitting process. We might have one or two who are actually right at the cusp of beginning building. Is their project eligible? The answer to that is yes. So long as this is a new unit that is under construction, that project is eligible. We will provide waivers for things like the feasibility consult. So the application process does require an upload of the feasibility consult, but we have a waiver in order to help homeowners who are a little bit further along in the process. We've had a lot of questions about the conversion of existing buildings, like a garage. Yes, that is eligible. If you want to convert your garage, that is eligible. What is not eligible is an interior conversion. So what we call a JADU, a junior accessory dwelling unit. The city of Napa does have a great program to assist homeowners with junior accessory dwelling units. At this time, this program is only for new accessory dwelling units, not JADUs. And we've had a lot of questions about tenants and can family be a tenant in the unit? Again, that answer is yes, so long as that family member qualifies at the income threshold. So they have to be earning at up to 80% of area median income. We've also had questions about owner occupied on the property. Several folks who own perhaps additional income properties. We've had one or two who literally have 2 adjacent parcels and are wondering if they can do an ADU on the other parcel, not the one where their home is. Those answers are no. It does have to be on the property where the homeowner is a full-time primary resident of that property. We've had questions about short-term rentals, that it is my primary residence, but every summer I go and visit family somewhere else and I rent out my home for a month. Unfortunately, that home, that residence is not eligible for the program. It does need to be a full-time primary residence with no other financial purpose for the property. We've had several homeowners reach out, or several interested applicants reach out who are in the process, say, making an offer on a new home. Can they apply for the loan? That answer is also no. Once you own the property and you are living on the property, you can apply, but you do have to be a full-time resident of the property at the time of application for the loan. And finally, again, just the JADU, someone has an extra bedroom that they would like to rent out, and that JADUs are not incorporated in here. The other question that I realized I didn't put on here that we have had, and I do want to make sure we clarify, is for homeowners who want to build an ADU and move into the ADU and rent out their main house. While we absolutely support that and think that's a great use of a property for a lot of homeowners, this program was not designed to take in that financing structure. So at this time, no, that is not an eligible use. You do have to be renting out the ADU in order to comply with the program. And then finally, we can just end on the link to the county webpage as well as the QR code. So on this slide, the county webpage, countyofnapa.org/AADU, has links to both Napa Sonoma ADU, which anybody on this webinar already has, as well as our application portal. The QR code that is on the screen will take you directly to the application portal. The only portion of the portal that is live right now is the interest page, basically step 1. Anyone on this webinar who has heard what I've had to say, is still interested in the program and would like to register, please go. You can go tonight and register. We will then refer you for the feasibility consult while we're waiting to get the rest of the application portal up. So that is a step you can take right now. We expect the portal is under development with the IT development team, and we expect it to be ready the first week of February. Everyone who registers and goes through step 1 on the current portal will be notified as soon as the program is live so that they can come back and complete the rest of the application process. With that, I will stop and be ready for questions.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Thank you. That was such an incredible overview of the program. It was incredible, Jennifer. Thank you so much. And I have to say, we are getting excellent questions in the Q&A, and I think you're really going to appreciate the questions we're seeing, Jennifer. They're really going to help illustrate for all of us kind of the nitty-gritty details of how this is going to work. So, and with that, there might be questions where we don't know the answer. So that's okay too. These questions we're getting from you all also will help the county and Napa Sonoma ADU Center think through next steps about the program. So with that, we're going to turn to Jennifer and Erika. And Scott, I see you've been answering questions in writing. You are awesome. And please feel free to chime in as well. But first question, which we've actually gotten from a couple people, Tara asks, can it be a unit built above an existing garage?
Yes, absolutely. A unit above a garage is eligible.
Great. Couple people asked that, so a couple people are happy right now. So Susie asks, this is a little bit of a long question, so if you want to open up the Q&A chat and read along, Jennifer, it could help. As a person answering questions, I've found that to be sometimes helpful to hear and read. So Susie Steen asks here at the top, we already have plans designed, engineered, and submitted twice to City of Napa Building Department. Good job, Susie. We're seeking out funding sources, and when we tried to apply for the State of California grant of $40,000 for the pre-building expenses, we found the funding had dried up. I'm so sorry about that, Susie. We are really hoping to get the state to re-up those funds. But with that said, Susie asks, will this program be refunded? And if so, will they help us recoup what we've done so far? Oh, at the end of the question, I'm realizing it's a question about the Cal HFA program and not the County of Napa program. Sorry, Susie and everyone. So to answer that question, but I'll let others chime in too. Cal HFA, we're not sure if they're going to refund. They have a pot of money that they are trying to determine how they're going to use. And there are some excellent folks, in particular at the statewide Casita Coalition nonprofit and other industry leaders who are serving as advisors to Cal HFA on how to reuse those funds. And we certainly hope that funding will be available once again. But let's turn back to the Napa County program, which Jennifer and Erika here can answer questions on. While we're on the topic of Cal HFA, we did have some folks that had questions about if you didn't get the Cal HFA grant, can you still get all the incentives that the county is offering?
So no, the maximum incentive amounts are calculated up to, so it's up to $10,000 for the permit fees in the unincorporated county, and then it's $2,500 for each of the additional 4 incentives. So No, they are cumulative of one another as opposed to like a ceiling on all 5 combined.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, we have ERBS Ruben. Asks, we paid for architect's drawings and were approved by Napa for construction, but then costs doubled in the year since we started the process, making us abandon the project after spending thousands of dollars already. I hate hearing stories like this. You're not alone. The question is, how can we qualify for a forgivable loan, and how quickly could we then start construction? We already have 2 local teachers wanting to rent from us. I love hearing that. They want to know, what's the answer for that one?
So the already incurred fees would be eligible for the use of the county funds. The need would be to actually pull the permits and get a construction contract. So that's what's going to trigger eligibility for our funding to go into the managed construction escrow account. So you do have to actually complete the project. We can't help you recoup funds unless you build the ADU, but it does sound like there's a lot of work that's already been done that you would not need to reinvent that wheel. You could utilize the existing work, and once you're ready to go at the point of construction, then we would fund the loan, and all of those expenses are eligible for reimbursement.
Great. Scott, what is it that you want to share?
For this particular issue, because the drawings were done last year, the building codes have changed. And while that probably doesn't change the drawings a lot, they will need to at least be updated to reference the 2022 building codes. But that should be a very small change for your architect to do. It shouldn't cost thousands. And then you'd be ready to apply for a permit and move forward with your project. But I just want to jump in there with that.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Scott. And wonderful. Now, Jennifer, I want to ask a question that others might be wondering about, which is, it's really scary to invest thousands of dollars in an ADU project without having this forgivable loan secured, for example, perhaps, right? So what can the county say to a homeowner to give them a sense of how realistic it is that they could get that forgivable loan if they make that initial investment?
So this is one of the reasons why we've designed the application process to be a multi-step process, because we too want to make sure that homeowners aren't reaching for funding and then perhaps even spending a bunch of money without really understanding whether their project is feasible on their property. So step number 1 after registration is going to be to conduct the feasibility consult. And that is one of the most important partnerships in this entire program, is our partnership with Napa Sonoma ADU, because the technical assistance that Napa Sonoma ADU offers to homeowners is so critical to making sure projects are feasible, homeowners understand what the scope is going to look like, what the limitations on their property are going to be. We are going to have additional technical assistance available once the homeowner has completed the feasibility consult, can tell us what size project and what their financing plan is. Then we will provide a reservation of funds. So we will help a homeowner feel assured that there is money set aside at Napa County for the scope of the project that they envision, while they go out and line up the rest of their funding sources. So that's a letter that they can take to Redwood Credit Union to show, here is one of my multiple funding sources. So maybe they're going to use a little bit of cash. Maybe they've got the Cal HFA grant. Our letter will confirm to Redwood Credit Union that, yes, we have committed these funds to this project. We're also going to have several additional technical assistance videos for homeowners to watch that further reinforce the value of a homeowner completely understanding what they're stepping into. Because while we think these are absolutely really valuable units for homeowners to be able to finance their mortgage, to be able to age in place, to be able to provide housing to family members, to be able to just simply help the community with an affordable unit coming online, we do want to make sure that the homeowner is completely comfortable with what they're doing before we lock in a loan. So we're going to do everything we can, and as is Napa Sonoma ADU, to make sure we've answered all questions before anybody signs on the dotted line, and the homeowner is very comfortable that this is a project they can afford and that they've got a plan that they can actually build.
Incredible. Thank you for that, Jennifer. And I want to also just share for folks who are wondering, tendremos este seminario web otra vez en el futuro en español. So we will have this webinar again in English and in Spanish. So if folks are wondering about that, and there is help available at the Napa Sonoma ADU Center and at the county to answer questions about ADUs and about this program in Spanish. Entonces, hay personas en el condado de Napa que hablan español y también en Napa Sonoma. So, podemos ayudarles en español si tienen preguntas. Okay, let's turn to our other questions. Susie, when can we fill out an application for the county loan program? Can you reiterate the answer to that question?
Yes, so you can take step one tonight. And perhaps we could just re-show that QR code and the county web address. Either the county web page or that QR code can take you straight to step one of our application portal. Once you're registered there, we will refer you to the feasibility consult. If you don't need it, that's fine. Let us know that you've already completed that feasibility consult when we reach out to you. And we'll provide a waiver. And so then you are just ready to move into step two as soon as the rest of the portal is live, which we expect will be the first week of February. And we will notice everyone who is registered through step one on the portal will receive a notice the minute that the next two portions of the application portal are live.
Incredible. Thank you. And thank you, Amity. And for those looking for the portal still, it's in the chat, the most recent chat. It's right there. You can click that link. Okay, Sarah has a great question. And by the way, folks, we are going until 7:30, so we have time to answer your question. Sarah wants to know, is there help for the rental agreement?
Yes. Well, okay, so let me say, like, this is one more. I want to be very honest about what we focused on. We have worked really hard to get this program ready for launch so that homeowners can apply for the capital. We do understand that there are multiple additional kind of technical assistance that we can offer homeowners. We have every intention of doing that. We've just prioritized getting the program up and running with the expectation that there's probably 12 to 18 months of construction between when folks are signing on the dotted line and getting the loan to when the unit's going to become available. I do realize that we have a couple homeowners who might even be on this webinar who are further along in the construction process and might be closer to the point of lease up. So we will hurry up as soon as we get the program launched with both the tenant pre-certification program as well as some basic documents. There are very simple, like you can go to Office Depot and get a basic lease for a landlord and tenant, but we will have a video on landlord-tenant relations and some of the things that we want to make sure everybody understands. I know Napa Sonoma ADU also has webinars on that. And yes, we will have a recommended lease or a few options for homeowners to be able to take advantage of, because we fully understand that that is probably the biggest stretch after the idea of financing this unit is most folks have not been landlords before, and it is a scary thing to step into, and we want to make sure both landlords and tenants feel very comfortable about the support that's available. So we will be doing it. I just don't have a ton to say about the specifics of that tonight because we haven't yet gotten to those steps, but I do hope to partner with Scott in the future as we get there to be able to host future webinars to go over those parts of the program.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. And just for folks, I will in a moment drop in the chat a short video we have on lease agreement tips. We don't have a full webinar on this subject because we are not experts, and we don't want to pretend to be, but we do have that resource, and we'll share that in a moment. So that's excellent, Jennifer. Okay, so last has a question. Does the home have to remain our primary residence for the 5-year duration?
Yes. And that is actually a very important distinction from the Cal HFA program, which did not require that the homeowner remain for any period after the funding. the homeowner does need to remain the primary occupant of the property for the duration of their loan. And I want to reiterate the opt-out with no penalty. If you use the loan now, you construct the unit, 18 months go by, you lease up your first tenant, and 3-4 years from now, so you're maybe a year or two into the lease, the affordability covenant, and circumstances change. You're going to move somewhere, you decide to buy another home, and you want to use that particular property as a rental income property. Any number of reasons why a homeowner might not any longer wish to occupy that parcel as their primary residence. You can opt out for no penalty, and all you owe back is the unforgiven portion of the loan plus the interest. So we recognize that we all have lived through a 5-year period where nobody could have imagined what life was going to look like at any point over the last 5 years. So we get that circumstances change. We want folks to feel very comfortable that we recognize that, and no one will be penalized for opting out of the program. It's just a 3% simple interest and whatever is unforgiven at that point.
And speaking of whatever is unforgiven at that point, can you reiterate over the 5 years, each year that the ADU is rented out to an eligible tenant, each year 20% is forgiven? Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. And so if it's all 12 months, it's 20%. If it's 11 months, if it's 10 months, there again, like, life is complicated and messy, and it doesn't always work in clean 12-month increments. We will prorate it. So you'll get the full credit for every month out of 60 that it was leased at an affordable rate. We'll just prorate for the months that it wasn't. And then homeowners at the end of the 5-year period, so the affordability covenant starts at occupancy and goes for 60 months continuously. At the end of 60 months, if there are 4 months that it was unrented, if there are 12 months that it was unrented, there will be some small remaining loan balance, and the homeowner will have the option to either extend the affordability covenant. So if they've got a tenant they love, they just want to make up the difference, we will happily extend the affordability covenant for another year and credit those months towards the remaining balance, or they can pay off the remaining loan balance and at that point rent out the unit at market rate.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Okay. Eli has a question. Can the ADUs be sold after the 5-year period?
This is an interesting question because I don't know what the rules are about selling an ADU separate from the home on a parcel.
That you can't do.
Yeah, I don't think you can, but after the affordability covenant, I mean, even with the affordability covenant, you can sell the home, you can sell the parcel and pay us back for whatever portion it remains. But after the 5 years, the county has, the affordability covenant is terminated, the loan is completely forgiven. You may do whatever you would like without any involvement from the county at all.
Great. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Arturo has a question. To clarify, unincorporated areas of Napa County will have how much of their permit fees covered?
Well, that's a good question. Up to $10,000 in permit fees are covered through the incentive program. And then the base loan can cover additional permit fees. So again, every project is going to be different, and it's really hard to define what property is going to have what kinds of permit fees. Some are waived automatically on smaller size ADUs. Some homeowners might choose to do a really big and fancy. So we're covering up to $10,000. That does not guarantee that your permit fees will be less than $10,000. It also doesn't guarantee that if we're not guaranteeing for permit fees that are higher than that. It's just up to $10,000. And if your fees exceed that, that is an eligible use of the base loan funding as well.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Scott, let's have a check-in moment on permit fees. So we have an extensive webinar on the subject that y'all can check out in our library. But Scott, for the average ADU project in Napa County, without knowing the details, I'm not asking you to know the details of Napa County's permits, but when you hear that up to 10 grand of permit fees are going to be covered.
significant.
What is your thought?
That's really significant. Of course, it depends on size. You say average ADU project, there is no such thing. They're all different. They all have their unique things. Are they septic? Are they 400 square feet? Are they, that said, $10,000 is a significant portion of the permit fees. And in many cases for the smaller ADUs, probably the majority, if not all, of the permit fees. If you're under 750 square feet, you're probably not going to be that much over 10 grand for permits in the first place. So it's a really significant payoff.
Thanks for that, Scott. Erika, by the way, feel free to chime in at any time if you have thoughts, because sometimes as a moderator, I get, as you guys saw, I read a question that was about the Cal HFA program, thinking it was about the Napa program. But I see a question from Nancy that I'm going to turn to. Nancy says, we are putting a 1-bedroom ADU in our garage to be used for an adult son or low-income worker family of 4. We have an architect and are applying for a permit tomorrow. We have secured a loan and signed a contractor. Is this eligible?
Yes, it is.
Caveat on is it eligible? It depends on the income of the son and the worker family, of course.
Right? Thank you. Yes, I was focusing on like the garage conversion portion of that question. Absolutely. Both, either the son or the family of 4 do have to income qualify based on their household size. So if it's just the son, a household of 1 has a lower income threshold than a household of 4, but they do have to income qualify. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. All right, Dave. Scott is going to answer the beginning part of this question, and then we're going to turn to Jennifer.
I've got
so
the first
Scott,
part,
I'm going to let you take it away, and then if you could share with Jennifer the part that you want her to answer.
Sure. So Dave, a garage conversion can be a junior ADU, but it doesn't have to be a junior ADU. You can build a regular ADU under 500 square feet that otherwise meets all the requirements of a junior, but it doesn't have to be a junior. The only time you can't do that is if you already have built a regular ADU. So you're allowed one of each, a junior and a regular. For the second part, he says, can we combine benefits of both programs if we convert the garage to a studio? And that's for Jennifer.
Can you combine the benefits of the 2 programs? Meaning, I'm going to assume that the question is if you're doing them both at the same time. So perhaps like a single general contractor going to do all of the work simultaneously.
Or maybe it's City of Napa's junior program, and
that's what I'm wondering.
The
if they're asked.
Yeah, I'm assuming that is the case, although the county also has a junior accessory dwelling unit loan program. So there's nothing that would prevent the 2 programs from being utilized at the same time. So we don't have a restriction, like if you're applying for the city's JADU program, you cannot apply for our ADU program. They're just not the same unit. So the eligible expenses are going to be different. The one thing that I was wondering was, the question is, if you have a single contractor doing both, how easy or difficult would it be to peel apart which maybe overhead fees are related to the JADU versus the ADU? And I don't have a great answer for that. But I do want to say we would not, there is nothing that would restrict a property owner from taking advantage of both programs at the same time. It just might get a little tricky in how we work that through with the managed construction escrow and reimbursement.
And I would suggest as a best practice to do those on separate permits. If you're going to do both a junior and a regular AD at the same time, you're going to pay a little bit, as in couple $100 for the 2 permit processing fees, but they can then be built independently. Should one get held up for one reason or another, you're not holding up both projects.
Thank you both. All right, Eli has another good question. I actually really love this question, even though we might not have this answer yet. How can I refer a potential future tenant for the ADU income certification?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to this one yet, but oh man, am I excited to get there. Like, I can't wait to start to work on this part of the program, because I think this is going to be so valuable for our local employers, for friends who live here, who have friends who work here but want to live here. So stay tuned is my answer, and that we please register through our interested party portal, step one. And also we will, when we get to that program, I'm gonna just put Scott on the hook right now, that we will come back and want to do another webinar about how this program is gonna work to be able to answer those questions. So we're not keeping a list right now just because we don't intend to be the entity that does that. We do want to find somebody external that can do that work for us, but we are really excited to get to that next phase. So I hope it's not too long from now that we're back with another webinar and I've got an answer to that question.
No, I can't
And
wait to
I
do it.
should, yeah, I should mention that for folks who are interested in being matched with an ADU currently in Napa County, Napa Valley Community Housing has such a program. It's linked to from our website, and we will drop the link in the chat shortly. All right, Amy has a really good question. These are all such good questions, right? They're such good questions. Amy, if I currently rent out my basement, does that disqualify me for this loan?
No, if you currently rent out your basement, you cannot use our funding to convert. That is an interior conversion. So that would be a JADU to turn your basement into, because it's in the existing envelope of the primary residence. So our funding can't help do any sort of renovation on that basement unit. But if you rent out your basement unit right now and you are seeking to build an ADU on another part of the property, you're renting out the basement, like having a junior accessory dwelling unit on the property does not disqualify you, so long as you also live on the property and it is your primary residence. So and this is actually, Amy, you're helping with a really great clarifying question. Our conditions about not having a short-term rental or long-term rental are for the homeowner's use of the house. So having a junior accessory dwelling unit and the homeowner living there, totally okay. The homeowner leaving the property and renting out the main house on a short-term rental, even just for a couple weeks at a time, not okay. So junior accessory dwelling unit, renting out your basement, that's fine. And yes, you can apply for our program so long as the unit that you are looking to build is a new ADU on the property.
Excellent. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, let's see here. So this question has been answered already from Matthew. Jamie, the Cal HSA grant 1099s you in the year that you were granted the funds. With this particular forgivable loan, would you be 1099'd each year for the forgiveness portion of the loan that year?
No. No, you are not. This, and I believe I'm wishing I had complete certainty on this answer, but we have discussed this with our county council, and no, we do not need to do a 1099 on this. So because we are receiving the value of the affordable rent in exchange, it's not actually the considered income. So no, you're not going to be receiving a 1099 from the county.
Great, thank you. Okay, another paperwork question from Dave. How does this loan show up on title report? Second loan, question mark?
Yes, it's going to be a second position, and it's an affordability covenant on the property. So it is a loan. It's going to be on second or perhaps third position because relative to the size of the property and likely the mortgage, it's a pretty small amount. But it's a loan and an affordability covenant. So it's a deed restriction, basically.
Great. Let's circle back to what happens if you sell the property before the 5 years is up. Could you just remind people what that scenario would look like?
Yep. So ideally that scenario is going to be a homeowner is going to let us know that they would like to sell their property, in which case we can prepare the paperwork. There will be a payoff notice, and we, just for folks who are on this webinar, we have a proximity loan program where we also provide down payment assistance for folks who are buying a home here who work in the county. And that's an equity share for the county. When the homeowner goes to sell, we basically provide to escrow the amount due to the county. So it's a fairly simple process. You let us know that you're going to sell the home. We will do a calculation of what is the outstanding balance, and then we work with the bank to make that transaction all happen fairly seamlessly.
Awesome. I have another question for you, Jennifer and/or Erika. Sometimes when people think about communicating with their local government, regardless of the department, they think black hole, no response, scary, will it bite me somehow in some other way? So can you tell our audience, if they need to communicate with you, either in the process leading up to approval or over those 5 years, what is that going to look and feel like for them?
So that we want that to be a very high touch in-person process. And that is why we have the partnership with Napa Sonoma ADU, so that there are human beings who value relationships both from the county as well as from Napa Sonoma ADU, and recognize that this is a nerve-wracking and brand new process for most homeowners to consider and wade into. I will also say the same is true for Erika and I in launching this program, that this is new for us. And so we also want to be in high touch because we want to learn as much as we can about how else can this program work for local homeowners and how can we support more ADU development. So step one is going to be to go on to the portal. That is how you'll sort of get on our register, and we will initiate the communication process. But we are both available, and we have a close partnership with Napa Sonoma ADU, and we'll have some additional technical assistance available. So we're here doing this webinar. I've been in front of our board of supervisors many times. We're not afraid to show who we are. You're going to run into me at the grocery store. I want to make sure that we are doing what we can to make you feel good about the process, and we want to make sure we have as many resources available as possible for homeowners to feel really comfortable. So we do intend for this to be kind of a high touch, high engagement process.
Awesome reassurance. Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. And knowing the two of you, I know it's true. So that's wonderful. Okay. Jakota asks, is a lease agreement required if I'm renting to my kids?
Yes, it is. And that's a great question. So yes, a family, there needs to be a 12-month lease agreement, and your child will have to income qualify in order to be certified through the program. So whether or not you collect the rent from your child is entirely up to you. But the lease does need to exist, and the tenant does need to income qualify.
Great. And with my lawyer hat on, I'll just say, even if it's family, always have a lease agreement, regardless of whether you're in this program or not. And I say that as an adult child leasing from my mother, and it's so helpful and always good to have a written contract. Just going to put that out there.
100%.
Rebecca has a question. This is a really good clarifying question, Jennifer. So going back to our examples that you showed with the columns, Rebecca wants to know, for the tenant requirements, do all the columns shown need to be met? So for example, you had a 2-bedroom family of 4, 100K. Wondering if a single occupant would still qualify. So I think the question is, do you have to line up like the number of bedrooms with the number of tenants, or like, are there any requirements around that?
Oh, I see. So yes, the maximum rent that you can charge is set based on the number of bedrooms. So there will be the yeah, I want to make sure I answer this in a way that doesn't make everybody's eyes cross. A studio is presumed to have a single occupant. A 1-bedroom is presumed to have up to 2, a household of 2, and a 2-bedroom is presumed to have up to a household of 4. So the income threshold and the related affordable rent is set based on the household size. Meaning, if you have a single tenant who income qualifies as up to 80% of area median income, but you are renting a 2-bedroom, you may rent out your 2-bedroom at the rate that is affordable to a household of 4. So you don't have to find the right size household for your unit. You just can't exceed the threshold of the unit of the rent for a unit of that size.
Right.
I hope that answers that question. Great question.
The rent is determined by size of the ADU.
Yes.
The income qualifications is determined by the number of people in that. If it's one person in that household, right? So if it's one tenant, the income qualifications for 1. If it's 2, it's for 2, etc. So
Yes.
they're kind of 2 separate pieces, slightly related, if I'm understanding that correctly. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So it's possible that someone could, through this program, build a 2-bedroom ADU, but then rent it to one person, and the maximum that they could rent that 2-bedroom ADU would be the max cap for a 2-bedroom ADU.
Correct. Yes.
Is the rent amount going to change over the course of the 5 years, or is it going to?
Yes, it is. That's another great clarifying question. So HCD, which is the state agency that sets the area median income thresholds each year, they update those amounts, the income thresholds each year in April is when they publish them. And so our maximum affordable rent for the 3 sizes of ADUs in the program will be reset each year. And I will just say, when we forecast out the 5-year gap between market rate and affordable rate, we did assume a slight increase in, I think we assumed a 6% increase in market rate rent, and we assumed only a 3% increase in affordable rate. So the $25,000 to $85,000 in the base loans is based on a future projection of the rent. So it's not using thresholds right now, because we know nobody who's going to apply for the program has a unit to rent next month. So we were projecting out starting in about 18 months.
Great. And I see we have 6 minutes left, so I am going to get through as many more questions as I can. And there's a question from Ryan that's really good. It's a little bit of a harder one maybe, but I think you've got this answer from our conversations. How does income verification work with fixed income seniors, students, or people who have been unemployed for an extensive period of time? And I'm assuming he's talking about tenants, but yeah.
So in the case that like unemployed for a period of time or retired, that's probably most likely just going to be a tax return showing that is the case. If there really is no evidence at all of any income, and for this, I'm going to assume we're talking about family members, because I don't think a homeowner would be renting to somebody who has no proof of income if they're not family. Then there might even be a circumstance where we're having a attestation from the homeowner that they are retired and they don't have any income. So that I think is not going to be terribly difficult to work through, particularly in the case of, say, a retired parent who is going to be moving into the unit. The income certification for a tenant that is going to be paying rent will be based on their existing income. But for family members, we recognize that there are some extenuating circumstances. So we'll, particularly with like retired parents, we'll make sure that that process is not overly arduous, and more than likely their tax returns are going to be fine.
Great, thank you. Sam asks, is there a loan program for junior ADUs? I think we covered that already, but just want to reiterate, we shared a link to the City of Napa's Junior Unit Initiative Program, which is a grant program for both junior ADUs and interior conversions, specifically for the City of Napa. County of Napa has a similar program. And in order to learn more about the County of Napa's program, Jennifer or Erika, what would be the best way for them to find out about that?
That's the same link. So countyofnapa.org/AADU. There's also going to be a link to the junior unit program on that webpage.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Simone asked a good question for me and Scott, really. Is there any help or assistance in finding affordable contractors that are willing to do these projects? We've been searching with no luck here in Napa. And the first thing I will say is we do have a vendor registry on our website of contractors that work here that have been doing ADUs, newly have been doing ADUs in the last couple of years. And also, if you go back to that ADU gallery that I shared, some of those folks are contractors as well. And then finally, one of the best ways to connect with a contractor is actually through your designer or architect, because usually local designers and architects work with some of the same contractors repeatedly and can provide a helpful referral. Scott, would you offer anything else? And then Jennifer, I think that the original question was, is the county going to help with that? And I think the answer is no, but if you have thoughts, you can share. Well, other than no, you're connecting them with us for a feasibility consult, and we're offering our resources.
Yeah, I mean, most people, we have our vendor list, we have our gallery, and exactly right. If you have an architect or designer, that's actually probably your best bet, because having those two working together really is a partnership. You want them to be working well together. Beyond that, it's going to be word of mouth. You say affordable contractors. I sort of wince at the word affordable because it's simply it's expensive to build. We have labor shortages in the trades and all of that. So I'm sorry it's taking you so long to still not having found your contractor, but there are lists out there. I would also suggest perhaps the North Bay Builders Exchange. They have a huge for all of the North Bay of contractors of various types, plumbers and other people in the trades.
And that's posted on our website.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for that, Scott. Okay, we have one more minute. I want to keep answering questions. We've answered so many questions, 44 questions, folks. I'm like so proud of us. But I want to turn to our slides again and close out. Unless there's any final words, Jennifer or Erika, that you want to share before we make that transition.
I think the only thing, I mean, I absolutely want to say thank you, Renee, for all of your leadership with Napa Sonoma ADU all this time. This is definitely a little bit of a bittersweet close on the webinar, but we are really excited to get this program launched. We are very much looking forward to additional questions and feedback from homeowners, and can't wait to get the rest of the program pieces together. So please do take step one tonight, tomorrow, in the next couple of days, and we will get the program up and running by early February.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Amity, if you actually want to go back one more time to that QR code slide for us. So folks, if you want to snag that QR code, or again, it's been shared multiple times in the chat to get to that portal, please feel free to do that. It has been such a pleasure being here with you all, Scott, Jennifer, Erika, and Amity, doing lots of work in the background there, and with all of you. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you. Amity, if you want to transition to our final closing slides, we can do that. I want to let all of you know that, again, as we've mentioned, this webinar is going to be recorded and available on our website by the end of next week. Also, the slides are going to be available on that recording, so you can go through all these slides at your own pace later on. Look at those wonderful examples and illustrations that Jennifer provided. And I just want to say once again how remarkable this program is, how excited we are about it. It's really incredible. And Jennifer and Erika, and to the whole, the staff and the Board of Supervisors at the county, we're just so thrilled about this opportunity to help us continue to resolve our housing crisis. So once again, Napa Sonoma ADU Center is a fiscally sponsored project of Napa Valley Community Foundation, with support from Community Foundation Sonoma County, with support from County of Napa, City of Calistoga, and others. We are so thrilled to get to be here in partnership with all of our local homeowners and friends and industry partners and city and county partners. We really appreciate you. We hope we can help you get kickstarted on your ADU project, and we're here to help you. So reach out, get signed up on that portal. And there's going to be a survey that pops up at the end of this webinar as it closes. Please fill out that survey, give us your feedback, and reach out with any questions. Thank you all again. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.